This is The Water Table.
A chance to hear the agricultural side of these issues.
A place for people to go find information and education.
Water management is just going to become even more critical into the future.
How misunderstood what we do is.
I would encourage people to open their minds and listen to this dialogue.
This week on the Water Table podcast, we had a hostile takeover, and we have an episode that we're titling Married to Drainage. My wife, Christine Dunnick, and Kitty Rodelius are telling stories about what it's been like to be part of the drainage industry through their husbands who've worked now for decades in the industry. You're going to enjoy listening and the stories that they have to tell.
Kitty Rodelius, this is so fun. Kitty and I decided to take over the water table for today. And Jamie's wife, Christine, I'm stepping in for him today. I'm going to interview someone I'm going to call her crazy special to Jamie and I. Kent Rodelius' wife, Kitty, who I have known well over 25 years through Prinsco, and we go to the same church, and she is a woman that I can honestly say that I admire greatly. When I think of Kent and Kitty, I smile, and many, many kind words come to mind. So it is a great honor and privilege to be real and sincere and laugh with Kitty today. And Kitty, I just want to thank you on behalf of Jamie and I and the Prinsco family. As a spouse to Kent, you have served Prinsco and people and loved on people and communities. You have been deep in the water with Kent for well over 40 years, and just really grateful. I've come up with some fun questions for you today. But before I ask you questions, I could talk a long time about our sentiment and admiration for you and Kent, but simply put, we're just excited about who you are and how you've served people within Prinsco, outside of Prinsco, and you're just amazing people that we have a lot of respect for and we're excited about. And so it's really fun to spend time with you today. Kitty, before we begin, we've been married to these gentlemen that have been in water management for decades. Is there anything you'd like to say that's on your heart right off the top?
Wow. Well, Kent and I were talking about this, of course, in the last couple of days, and I also asked my daughters a bunch of questions. So it's just been fun to think back 40 years about how it started and what it was like and how it's changed so much. And the same back to you, Christine, the way Jamie has, what's happened with the company in the last 25 years under his leadership. Amazing things. It's been awesome to watch, awesome to be a part of. So the Prinsco family is very special to us. So you know that. You know that. You know the story about Jamie and Kent. I think they went through I think they went through the drive-thru at the bank one time together for some reason, and the guy thought that Jamie was Kent's son. So when we say family, it's like, I think, yeah, people have mistaken them for father and son. So that's a compliment. So,
well, those are kind words, and an organization is only as good as its people.
That is true.
I will say that Jamie has greatly looked up to Kent for decades. Kent has sharpened him. I feel that personally and professionally as his spouse. I didn't plan to say this off the top, and Jamie has no idea I'm going to share this. He might be a little upset with me, but I believe that he had his license either revoked or suspended, Jamie, from having way too many speeding tickets. So decades ago, he had to ride with Kent. He could only call on customers riding with Kent. And to this day, he will tell me, I learned this from Kent at this time, and I learned that from Kent at this time. And I remember seeing this customer and what Kent said at that time. And so it has been a many years of being a gift to each other and just really grateful. But Kitty, let me ask you a question. Kent has been involved in Prinsco and has been working at Prinsco and in the industry for now over 40 years. Much of that time, he was the front man with customers and industry organizations, whether it was Leica or ADMC. I know he currently serves as the president for that organization. From your perspective, what have the organizations and relationships formed from them meant to Kent?
Oh, my goodness. We were talking about that last night, about how we have gone to Leica conventions for, I don't know, not 40 years, but maybe 35 years. And so many of those relationships, people who started out as customers, they have become friends. They're deep, close friendships. We used to go to dinner with the same people year after year after year, and you'd be waiting to catch up on your family. And I knew the names of their kids, and we were invited to weddings and graduations, and so it became much more than just a customer thing. The girls were remembering that many of our family vacations centered around the Leica convention, the summer Leica convention. And so we would go to wherever it was, places that you would never really take your family. One that comes to mind is we had a Leica convention in Providence, Rhode Island. Well, we probably would never have gone there. But we went to Providence, Rhode Island, and we went to the convention. And then after that was over, then we went on a little family vacation around the area. So, I mean, on and on and on it goes. But the people have been key. And some of these people have just been very dear to us. And we've lost a few of those people along the way, you know, and those things are hard because people get to be the most important part. Always people, the most important part. So Charlie, John Downey, some of those people I think of with great affection. You know, we've had a lot of fun with them over the years. Patty Kringle, just lots of fun. Goodness sakes, I can think of adventures that we went on. The Minnesota group would get together at the Leica convention and all go out to eat, and we had a wonderful time. It was wonderful, yeah.
Well, and Kitty, I need to praise you, and I could say this about many wives at Prinsco or husbands. You have put effort into Prinsco and people. You have cared deeply yourself. And so although Kent has served Prinsco and still does for over 40 years, you were right by his side, loving on people and building relationships with him. And they became friends. And so I just appreciate how much the woman you are and what you have done to make a difference in the lives of others. And if I could interview all those people that you just named, not only would they speak so highly of Kent, but they would speak so highly of you, Kitty, and the difference that you've made and how you've served people throughout all these years. So really grateful for you and all the difference and the impact.
So Kent used to tease me that my rhubarb cake saved his job because Jamie liked it so much. I'd be like, okay, I'll make another one. So, yeah.
Oh, my gosh, that rhubarb cake. Seriously, Jamie absolutely.
I know.
Kitty, I don't know if you know this about me, but my mom taught home ec for over 30 years. I don't have a home ec gene in my body. He teases me that I got every one of the auctioneering genes and not one.
Christine, that's all good. That's all good.
Home ec bones. And thanks to you, the man has been able to eat rhubarb from time to time. You wouldn't believe the times that he's come home and said, Kitty brought her rhubarb dessert.
Well, there must have been a reason for that. Maybe Kent did something wrong and he'd come home and say, you better make a rhubarb cake.
No, it's been so fun. I have another question for you, and then we'll tell some fun stories too. But, you know, what is it like to be married to someone who has been so invested in their work and the relationships formed from their work? When I think of Kent, he has been all in. He has given his heart and soul, and Kent does nothing 50%. And so, and I'm complimenting him, but for him to be so invested in his work and the relationships that have been formed, what is it like to have been married to Kent for 40 plus years? Yeah. Or how many years have you been married?
47.
47 years.
One thing that comes to mind is he always answered his phone. So it didn't matter what was going on. It didn't matter if we were eating or if we were having a conversation, or he always answered his phone. So you have to learn to live with that, And I didn't have a dad that had a job like that at all. My dad was a college professor. He came home at 4:30. He was done for the day. Kent was never done. And so he always answered his phone. One thing, when I talked to my girls this weekend, they said, when the phone would ring in the car, we had to be quiet. And if you're on a trip with your kids, and they're like 3 and 6, you have to say to them, no, shh, Daddy's on the phone, and it's important. And so there was a lot of waiting. But, all good. And he made it fun, and he made it part of our family time together. But the girls also said to me, I said, do you remember ever stopping on a trip or anything and to look at tile? And they were like, Mom, every time. And so I said, really? I don't remember that. And they said, oh, Mom, we'd be driving. For one thing, usually our trips would start out with, well, I'm just going to stop by this guy's place on the way. And so then that always started out like that. And Anna said, I was always sitting in a hot car. Well, that wasn't true, but that's what she remembers. But they can remember that if they would see a tiling machine, they'd see a tiling machine like in the field, they'd be like, oh no, here we go. Because off we'd go, and we'd have to go and see who it was or what the project was, because he was so interested. And this carries down to another generation. Eva and Luke were just in Seattle with their boys, and they sent me a picture of Owen squatting by a piece of tile that was the wrong color with his thumbs going down like that. So they're all still looking. It's still part of just who we are, because that was our life. That was our life. And we were interested in it, and he's still interested in it. And he still wants to talk to people about it, and he cares about it. He wants to help people. And that whole thing with him being like president of the ADMC, or many times he was the, what was it called? The president of the associates for Leica. That was because he wanted to be involved, and he wanted to care, and he wanted to bring Prinsco into that mix so that Prinsco was represented well at those national things. And so he wanted to really give his time to that. So, yeah, awesome.
It is awesome. And again, there's so many kind words that I can say about him, but when I think of Kent, I can just see him pulling over with the girls in the back. By the way, well done with your amazing daughters and son-in-laws and grandkids, a family to be so proud of, Kitty. But I can just see Kent pulling over and, spending time. Kent always gives people time, and Kent always cares, and Kent could be so busy. You could all be hot in the car, but he was going to take the time to care and go make a difference. And the ripple effect of that, Kitty, will never be able to be measured. And I commend you for being patient over and over and over. That comes to mind a funny thing I thought of, too. I was excited for this podcast and to spend time with you. And it's interesting that you talk about kids in the car and what it's like to be married to these men who are passionate about water management.
You've done it.
And
I'm sure you've done it.
I keep asking myself, what is it like? And it took me back to when our kids were young. And I thought if I bring this up, I had to write it down so I didn't mess this up. So we would be going somewhere, same thing, the phone would ring. Kids were little, kids were growing up, even with the kids old, when they were little and the phone would ring, they made up this song. And here's how it would go. Dad's on the phone, be quiet, zip your lips, lock them, throw away the keys, bump, 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 bump. Welcome to Dad's on the Phone Pipe Company. And they'd sing that really softly in the back to be quiet. And then Jamie would get through his call. And one thing I love most about Jamie, he's a very genuine, sincere, very earnest person. Like, he cares deeply about people, but he's also so funny. Then when he'd finally get off the call, they'd want to make him laugh. So he trained them to be quiet, and they'd sing that song in the back to each other. Then when he got off the phone, they'd sing it loud. Dad's on the phone, be quiet, zip your lips, lock 'em, throw away the keys, bump, bump, bump. Welcome to Dad's on the Phone Pipe Company.
I love
and we
that.
would just laugh to this day at 19 and 22. I bet once or twice a year, they're in the back going, Dad's on the phone, be quiet, zip your lips, lock 'em. So these guys, they answer the phone and they care about people, but at the end of the day, how cool and how special, and it's so fun.
We didn't have a song. I wish we had a song. We didn't have one.
So I think of your girls in the back seat, and I think
Same
of
thing.
I think
Same
of Elsie
thing.
and Harris.
Yeah.
I have a funny question to ask you, but I don't remember how this panned out, so you have to remind me. I heard one time that Kent got stuck in Mason City, Iowa, in a snowstorm at a really junky motel.
Last room in town. Last
that
room in town.
Had a mouse problem.
Yeah.
He is stuck, last room in town, Mason City, Iowa, motel, mouse problem.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the rest of the story?
He went down to he saw one mouse, and then he saw another one, and he went down to the front desk, and he said, could I have a different room? Because I have mice, not one mouse, mice in my room. And the guy said, there's a snowstorm. We don't have any more rooms. They're all full. And so he gave him a mouse trap and an old donut from the breakfast. Yep. And he sent him back to his room. And that night, Kent caught 3 mice. And he comes down in the morning and he says to the guy, I caught 3 mice in my room last night. And he's kind of dickering with him about paying for the room. And the guy gave him a coupon and said, this is for next time. Like Kent was ever going to go there again. 3 mice. He caught 3 mice that night. Yeah.
Kitty! He caught 3 mice.
Yep.
Gave him a donut and a mouse trap, caught 3 mice, paid for the room, and gave him a coupon for the next time. Yeah. Kitty, it doesn't get any better than that.
No.
Oh, my gosh.
So one of the things I remember about Jamie is, when Kent tore his quadricep tendon off of his kneecap, and so he had a cast on from his hip to his ankle. So then he had this, of course he's not going to stop working, and so he had this brilliant idea that I was going to drive him. And so I thought, this will be so fun. We'll get to be together in the car and we can talk, and I had this vision. So the first day, we try to get him in the car, and we find out that he can't even get in the front seat because his legs are really long. So he has to sit in the back. And in those days, Prinsco had vans. Everybody will laugh at this. They drove minivans. So he had to sit sideways in the back seat behind me. I'm driving. And so I'm like, well, that's not my favorite, but it'll be okay. And so we start driving, and I'm chatting away, and he says, I have to make a phone call. And so he's on the phone, and he says, take this highway, go this way. And so I'm like, so then I'm thinking, this is definitely not what I thought was going to happen. So he's on the phone, and of course he's not on the phone for 1 call or 2, or it's like hours on the phone. So I'm on this highway. I don't know where I'm going, so I'm just going. And at some point I stop at a stop sign or something, and I said to him, where are we? And he said, I don't know, where are we? And he said, we're supposed to be, and I said, I don't know. Well, I had not made the turn miles back, and he was distracted, so he didn't see it, and he didn't tell me to, and so we were like way off from where we were supposed to be. And he wasn't disgusted with me, but he was a little like, this is going to be a problem. Then he says to me, let's go out to this work site. And I'm like, what are you talking? It's like out in the field. You have to go like through the ditch and over like plowed ground. And he said, yeah, just drive over there. I'm in a minivan. So I'm like, okay, down we go, up, bump, bump, bump. And I thought, and so then we get out there and he talks to the guy for half an hour or whatever. And I'm in the minivan by myself. And after that, I was like, this is really not what I had hoped for. Jamie ended up driving him after that. So they did that more than once, drove together and spent all kinds of time together in working situations because of the driving. So, yeah, they were together a lot.
Oh, my goodness. No, that is a great story. I could just see you and Kent. And then all these times that Jamie and Kent have been able to spend in the car. One other story that comes to mind that Jamie told me about you, but here again, you got to tell us the details. Kent was calling on a customer, and then all I remember is you're playing the customer's kids like somehow. The next thing you know, you're like playing. You're like in a. You're in a
play.
fort.
I'm in a play. Oh no, more than that. I was in a play, Christine.
Yeah.
So we're in Canada. And I don't know if I know the people are listening to this would understand, but the fields in Canada are like miles long. They're just so huge. It was in the spring, and I remember a field of canola right next to a field of flax. So it was miles of periwinkle next to yellow. I mean, it was just spectacular. But we went to this farm of this lovely family. And they were very isolated. I think she told me the nearest neighbor was 29 miles. Wow. And they homeschooled, but they were just a dear, sweet family. And so Kent was going to go and look at a field with him. And I thought, half hour, 45 minutes. Well, like 2.5 hours later, he comes back. In the meantime, I have had a wonderful time with these children. We've been in the chicken coop and we've been outside on the swing set and we've done all these things. And then we're doing a play. I'm in the play. I have a major part in the play. And so he comes back and he says, well, I'm ready. And I'm like, no. We're not going anywhere until we have done this play because I am invested in this thing. Yes. So we did the play. And then they had this sweet little girl. I think she was about 3. And she was sitting on my lap. And I said, well, we're going to go now. And I said, maybe sometime we could come back. And she said, you won't come back, she said. Oh, and I thought, they're just so isolated and they just don't see a lot of people. And we had such a good time. We'd had so much fun. It was awesome. But yeah, half an hour turned into like, well, go with the flow, right? Go with the flow. Yeah.
Kitty, when I think of you, you're this petite, darling person with the heart of a gymnasium.
Oh, you're
and
so sweet.
when I think of you, just like Kent, you just go all in. And so the next thing you knew, it was 2.5 hours later, and you are playing with children. But I love that you said, heck no, Kent, we are not leaving. I am invested, and I'm going to see this play through.
I wish I remembered what it was about, but I don't. But I'm sure it was very important.
So kind of you. And there I think of the difference that you made in that family and that mother's lives that day to be helpful. I have one other question for you, but before I ask you my final question, this has been so much fun. Do you have any other stories that you want to tell or things that you want to share? I know you put some thought into today, Kitty. Is there anything else that you were thinking about that maybe you wanted to say?
Oh my gosh, Christine. There's so many things I think of. The other thing he used to do when I would travel with him sometimes is he would drop me at an antique store. And this is, you got to remember, this is before cell phones. So it wasn't like I could talk to him. And it wasn't even like I really knew where I was. This was often in Iowa. He traveled so much in Iowa that when people would say to Eva when she was just a little girl, where's your daddy? She'd just say Iowa. And I don't know what she thought Iowa was, but he was there a lot. But I remember him leaving me at an antique store one time, and he was going to be gone, an hour or whatever. Well, you know how things happen. And it got to be longer and longer. I couldn't call him. He couldn't call me and tell me what had happened. And I'm in this little tiny antique store in some town in Iowa, and it's time for this guy to go home. And he's like, do you know when your husband? No, sorry, I don't know, And I'm like, and so the guy's like, well, we're good. We'll just stay here and have a cup of coffee. And we're waiting, and I'm looking at my watch, and I'm like, and then finally he comes, and I'm like, I'm so grateful that he kept his store open, or I would have been like, I don't know what, walking down the highway? I don't know. But things happened, things happened sometimes when we were on these adventures. So do you know what? It's just really, isn't it, Christine, for you, for me? It's been a blast. It's been wonderful to be involved in people's lives, to watch our husbands flourish, to watch them do something they love doing. I don't think work was hard for Kent because he loved it. That's a good way for a wife to send a husband out the door, knowing that he's doing something he really cares about and loves. And I think there's some husbands who are wives who have to say, you need to get to work. Man, I just never had to say that. He was just always gangbusters to go. So, and that only amplified when Jamie came on board. He loved working with Jamie. So they just had a lot of fun, didn't they? They had a lot of fun.
So much fun together. And I will tell you, I sincerely mean this. I have heard more kind words over the years about their friendship, how much fun they've had together, and how much Kent has sharpened Jamie. And so Kent and you, Kitty, have been a blessing personally and professionally to ourselves, to the Prinsko family, and it has been a blast. And when you talk about being grateful, I just hear your sincerity and your grateful heart. I get a little bit choked up because we have a lot to be thankful for, and much to celebrate. And I always say, if I'm so lucky to be 80 someday, I'm going to die a learner. We're all going to continue to learn and sharpen, but it is so fun to see these husbands be so passionate about water management and get behind them. But I think it's been a gift to us wives as well. We've been able to serve people, laugh with people, to try to make a difference. And you've done that so well. I've looked up to you all these years and watched you support Kent. I don't know if there's ever been an argument or two, but when you're stuck in an antique store, Kitty just rolls up her sleeves and she supports Kent and she supports Prinsko.
Good thing I like people, because otherwise I would have been on the street, I think.
Oh, my goodness. You have gone the extra mile, and super grateful for the woman you are. I have another question for you, and I put some thought into this, so I'm going to kind of share what I'm thinking, and then you share what you're thinking. So when I thought about our husbands being passionate about water management, I thought about my almost 27 years of marriage to Jamie and being a part of Prinsko and water management. And I thought a lot about Kent, knowing him so well through our church and through the Prinsko family. I kind of thought, I put my thoughts as to why I believe that these men are so passionate about water management. And Kitty, when I'm done, I'm going to say kind of a mouthful of thoughts. But when I'm done, you can agree, disagree, or add to what I'm saying. But I believe Jamie and Kent are passionate about serving people. And they're passionate about the relationships that are fostered and formed both at Prinsko and in the industry. You know, it all goes back to people. It all goes back to relationships and making a difference in the lives of others. Many people, and Kent, have sharpened my husband. Many people, and become great friends. And I'm just so humbled by that and so thankful for that. And I feel his passion when Jamie gets out of bed in the morning. I'm sure, like Kent, it's those people, it's those friendships, it's those relationships within the Prinsko family, within the industry. The Tylers in the field, it's on so many levels. It goes back to serving people. And I think that that's the fun. And I think Jamie's had a lot of fun with Kent and countless people helping to develop people is something Jamie loves, and helping to develop an organization. And Kent has done that really well to help him. But the other thing I think of when I think of Jamie and Kent and the entire Prinsko family is when they sell a product, that product, meaning pipe that goes in the field. And this makes me passionate. I'll just give a quick little segue. Kitty, as you know, I work in our family business. So I work in our family business, Flattable Land. We celebrated 45 years in March, and we sell farmland. So Jamie and I have a blast talking about farmland and agriculture and pipe and water management. And we really try to put our heads together. How can I serve my organization better? How can he serve his organization better? And how do we do a great job in life? And so we have so much fun talking about our work together because it's a passion for both of us. But I know this because when I sell a farm and it has pipe, when it's tiled, that farm is tiled or well tiled, that farm sells for more money. Often, Kitty, a lot more money. But I'll tell you, this is something that I think and I know brings a lot of passion to Jamie, and I know Kent because I've heard him talk about it a lot. When Prinsko sells a product, meaning pipe, that pipe will last for generations. That'll be in that field. It'll often last for generations. And every year, that field will build more wealth because of that pipe. With increased yields, there'll be more bushels in the bin. Because of the pipe, of course, the yields will be increased. There'll be more bushels in the bin. And those bushels in the bin put more money into the farm family's pockets. And as we know, of course, more money into a farm family's pockets they'll pay more taxes because of that. But when they pay more taxes, I think of the infrastructure. And I get a little bit of goosebumps when I think of this because it's special. I think of the infrastructure in America. And I think of schools, Kitty. And I think of hospitals, Kitty. And I think of roads. And I think of all of the ripple effect. Not only do families make more money, but where that money goes for rural America. But ultimately, what makes me most excited, Kitty, and I know it makes Jamie most excited, is feeding the world. Ultimately, they're feeding the world. So I think of the ripple effect of why my husband is so passionate and why Kent is so passionate. And it's just mind-boggling, and it excites me. I didn't think I could get excited about pipe, Kitty, but it excites me.
Yes, you can.
Because I watch this husband of mine that loves water management, and he loves people, and he loves the product they sell for all the reasons that I said. And I, being a farm girl, I get it. Those farmers work so hard, and they are feeding rural America, or they're feeding the world, but they're helping rural America. And day in and day out, the farmer's making a difference. The pipe's making a difference. And I won't reiterate the ripple effect that I just said, but there is a lot of excitement around corrugated pipe. Katie Rodelius. Do you feel it?
Yeah. And I feel like when we first started, I knew nothing. I'm not a farm girl. I knew nothing. I understood nothing. And I remember as he learned more and I learned more, that I was like, oh, I see how this is really good. He's not just selling a product to somebody. He's helping that person to prosper. And like you said, he's increasing the value of his land. And I remember when Kent came home one time and told me that he'd been in a combine with a farmer and they went over a tile line and this is when the computers were starting to be and he watched the output of the bushels per acre go way up when they went over the tile line. And I was like, really? And he was like, yes, really. And that's what we're doing. And I was like, I didn't get that. And now I understand too that it helps the value of the land and it increases production. And yes, the whole idea that the American farmer is really going to have to feed the world. And that's a huge challenge. When our acreage is decreasing, that means production has to go up. And so it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, other people would be like, really? But for us who understand it and have been living it, it's very exciting. And it's exciting to see how it's changed and grown. And it went from just being tile in the ground to being actual like water management. And it's about way more than just tile in the ground. And so it's very fun. It's fun to have watched all of that evolve. Yeah, awesome.
Kitty, you worded that perfectly. And I love your passion. I've said it, but I want to say it again. We're just grateful. I'm grateful.
So are we. So are we.
You and our friendship, and I just admire you, and I have admired you, and I continue to admire you. Thank you so much for your commitment to Kent. Mm-hmm. There's so many more stories that you could tell today.
There's so many blessings, Christine. There's so many things we could talk about what a blessing this has been in our life and in your life. And, and as Prinsco grew from just a little tiny company to all these families, what a blessing for so many people. So, yeah, it's been so much fun to watch. Yeah.
Kitty, I have one more question.
Okay.
I just thought of.
All right.
No pressure.
Oh, no.
You just have a few years on me. You're not much older, but just a few years on me. And I'm, want to be the best water management wife that I can possibly be. But I can't cook. One thing about Kent, he would come home and I'd guarantee you he'd have an amazing, I know Kitty, he'd have an amazing hot meal. Uh-huh. Kitty would be patient. She would be so kind and excited to see him.
I can be?
Even if it was 3 hours late, Kitty would have an amazing meal. And she'd greet Kent with love and open arms. Christine is the worst for home-cooked meals.
Here's what I say. Does Jamie care a whit?
Oh,
no,
man.
He doesn't care.
Well, I need to up my game. But my question for you is, and I'm asking you this because I have so much respect for you, and you've been at the game longer, being married to a water management passionate husband. Do you have any advice for me? I will be 50 in August. I have said it before, but I'll say it again. I'm going to die being a learner. I'm a continual work in progress with the Lord. Do you have advice for me? I've learned a lot from you, and I'm going to continue to learn from you. And do you have any advice for me, Kitty?
I think that is who you are. I think you be who you are. I remember my mother was in Bible study when she was 88. And I remember thinking, I want to do that. I want to keep learning right until the Lord takes me to heaven. I mean, about many, many things. I want to learn about my husband. I want to learn about my kids. I want to be involved in things that matter to me, and I know that that's the way you want to live. So yeah, to say keep learning, I think that's an awesome goal. Keep learning right up until the end. Live it fully, And you guys are, you have the fact that you know about farming and that he's involved in, that's just such a sweet thing that you can share that together. That's awesome. So, yeah, I think that's great, Christine.
Thank you so much. Well, this has been a joy. My heart is full, and I'm I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for Kent and all that you've done to make a difference in the lives of others. My 2 words for you guys is ripple effect. And the Rodelius ripple effect is far and wide and deep and cannot be measured. It's been
Thank
so
you.
much fun.
It's been so much
We're
fun.
grateful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thanks for listening to this episode. I have so much fun recording these. I hope you have as much fun listening as I do recording. These episodes are available on all major podcast platforms as well as YouTube. So find them and download them when you can. Thanks for joining us.